When I was 10 years old, a wolf locked eyes with me. I thought it was just a childhood moment, but it ended up being a prophecy. Some land raises you long before you understand its meaning. I thought I had chosen Scotland, but the truth is, Scotland chose me. This isn't a fast video, it's a story, and it unfolds slowly. So one moment from that time has stayed with me forever. The wolf at the Highland Wildlife Park. I remember standing behind the fence, cold air, stillness, that strange feeling you get as a child when the world suddenly goes quiet. And then the wolf locked eyes with me. I ran one way, it followed. I ran the other way, it followed again. Back and forth. Not aggressively, not hunting, just watching. As if it recognised something in me before I even recognised it in myself. There was no fear, just awareness. I didn't know what it meant then, but I do now. That was the first time Scotland called me by name. The thread that returned me years later, long after childhood, long after I'd moved away from myself in ways I didn't yet understand. I met my wife before the marriage, before the breakdown, before we became two different people walking in different directions. She told me a story that stopped me in their tracks. Her dad gave every member of their family a Native American name, a name that reflected something essential about who they were, and hers was, ran with a wolf. The same animal, same childhood imprint. The connection was impossible to ignore. And even though our relationship took a different path in the end, she played a role in reconnecting me to the land I had drifted away from. Sometimes people come into your life not to stay, but to turn your back towards something. She was the reason I started looking north again. She played a role in bringing me back to myself. She was adamant, absolutely adamant, that one day she would live in Scotland, in the Highlands. At that time, I wanted sunshine. I thought happiness lived somewhere warm. I thought Scotland was where you went to remember things, not build a future. But her certainty did something to me. It made me look north again. She reminded me of the beauty and the power of the Highlands, back towards Scotland. Around the same time, I was deep into regenerative agriculture. I went properly into it, like I do everything. Watching Richard Perkins, reading about yields, climates, temperaments, watching endless videos. Imagining land in my head, ponds, trees, animals flow. And there were other animals I liked. Bison, for example. There's something ancient about them. I looked at cow breeds from all over the world, and without trying, my preferences kept circling back to Scotland, and circling back to the same too, the Highland cows and belted Galways. I told myself it was just familiarity. You grow up seeing something and you assume that's why you like it. But the longer I sat with it, the more I realised this wasn't preference, it was recognition. Take the Highland cow, they look almost ridiculous at first, that fringe hanging over their eyes, that slow, patient way they move. But spend any time around them and you feel it. They're calm, not because they're weak, but because nothing needs proving. They don't rush, they don't spook easily, they stand their ground. You can walk right up to them and feel this. Stillness, not submission, presence. They can survive brutal winters, poor grazing, sideways rain. They don't need perfect conditions to exist with dignity. Then there's the belted Galway. Hardy as hell, built for rough land, low input, low fuss, and visually unmistakable. That white band around the middle, no confusion about what it is. You see one in a field and you know exactly what you're looking at. And that stood out to me Because there's something very Scottish about that too. Not flashy, not trying to impress, but completely itself. Identity worn plainly, without apology. And then there's the tree, the Scots pine. I went deep on trees, proper deep. Species, growth patterns, soils, mycorrhizal fungi networks, and nothing resonated like the Scots pine. They don't grow straight and tall like plantation trees. They twist, they adapt. Wind shapes them, weather sculpts them. Some of them look like they've been arguing with the elements for centuries and quietly winning. They stand alone on ridges where nothing else survives. That's when it hit me. These weren't just animals and trees I liked. They were symbols. Totems of a land that doesn't dominate, but endures. And I realised I was trying to build the same way. Whatever was built here had to belong, had to sit with the land the way a Highland cow sits in a field, unbothered, rooted, unforced, had to stand like a Scots pine, able to take the weather without losing its character. Because if you build something that ignores the soul of the place eventually rejects it. That's why the details matter. That's why the cows matter. That's why the trees matter. They're not aesthetic choices, they're teachers. They show you how to live here. And once I saw that clearly, I couldn't stop seeing it in my own memories. I grew up in Glasgow, but my childhood lives in Aviemore, Kingussie and the Spey Valley. My uncle lived up there first, then my gran moved up, and for years, school holidays, weekends, that was where life slowed down, enough for me to feel it. My childhood up north wasn't special because of events, it was special because of how it felt to exist there. Sometimes it was just the three of us, me, my gran, my pap, quiet days, car journeys with no destination, the kind of closeness you don't recognise until it's gone. Other times the whole family would be there, aunties, uncles, cousins, but the feeling didn't change. That land raised me. Those rivers were the first water I ever drank straight from the source. Cold, clear, alive. That matters more than people realise. Because when your body learns what real water feels like, it never forgets. And my pap loved driving about, just exploring. I'd say, stop the car, pap, and I'd run up some random hill, as if something was waiting for me up there. I didn't know why I did it. Now I do. The land was talking to me before I had language for it. The older I get, the more I understand something simple and heavy. Childhood isn't something you grow out of, it's something you grow back into, if you're lucky. We spend half of our lives unlearning what we felt naturally at 10 years old. I want my boys to feel what I felt, not screens, not noise, real hills, real rivers, real freedom, a sense of belonging that doesn't need explanation. And that's what the Highlands gave me. And that's what I want to build for them and for the community that's forming around my life. That quiet sense of being held by something older than you, that's what Scotland does. It doesn't entertain you, it initiates you. There's a story I heard once of Indigenous people asking a Western man, "Do you not hear the stars?" And when he said no, they were genuinely shocked. That question never left me, because modern culture has trained us not to listen, but to extract, to measure, to dominate. In the book, The Last Hours of Ancient Sunlight, it talks about how young, dominant cultures sweep across the world, overwriting older ones, languages lost, knowledge erased, ways of living dismissed as primitive. But those older cultures understood something we forgot, that the land speaks if you're quiet enough to hear it. That animals aren't resources, they're messengers. That rivers aren't utilities, they're teachers. Scotland was one of those cultures, not perfect, but listening. And I think that's what's stirring again. Not nostalgia, not romance, but remembrance. There's a fairy I've been sitting with for a long time now. It started with something simple, but the more I looked at it, the deeper it went. The Romans didn't build one wall in Scotland, they built two. The Hadrian's Wall and the Antonine Wall. Two separate attempts to draw a line, to say, we stop here. For a long time, I thought the explanation was almost funny. The rain, the cold, the midges. Anyone who spent time in the west of Scotland knows the midges alone could defeat an empire. But the more I sat with it, the more I realised this wasn't just about climate, it was about character. Sometimes you don't feel like flattering your heritage, and sometimes you absolutely do. And when I look at Scottish people, how we show up in the world, I see something consistent. Scots have this reputation globally as friendly, warm, fun and welcoming people. Look at our travelling fans for football or rugby, kilts on, tops off, pints in hand, merry, loud but respectful. They don't trash cities, they don't look down on locals, they bring humour, songs and friendliness wherever they go. Look at the national anthem being sung by the fans. That atmosphere is regularly voted one of the best in the world. And when you hear it, really hear it, the hair stands up on the back of your neck. Deep voices, strong accents, sung in rhythm, not for show, but from the chest. It's not just a song, it's a declaration of belonging. And then there are moments that say more than history books ever could. Like that photo, the one that went around, two Scottish men in kilts, beers in hand, holding an umbrella over an elderly woman with a Zimmer frame. That's Scottish honour, service, respect. Looking after those around you without being asked. Even German fans spoke about it at the last European Championship, how respectful, how good-hearted the Scottish fans were. And now Scotland's qualified for the next World Cup in America. And I already know how those fans will show up. And that's when that deeper thought hit me. What if this friendliness, this humour, this honour isn't weakness? What if it's confidence? Because when you look at history, Scotland has never been easily ruled. The Romans never conquered the Highlands. Viking tribes raided the coast, but never defeated the inner Highland clans. They called them unconquerable. And Scotland didn't fall to England through defeat. The Union came through lineage when a Scottish king ascended the English throne. Throughout history, Scottish regiments were on the front line. In the British Army, the Scots were known for wearing kilts into battle, playing the bagpipes. Those pipes weren't ceremonial, they were war instruments. They were called blood pipes. There's even the story from the Second World War that Hitler or Himmler referred to the Scots as devil in skirts. Because when the pipes started, the Germans knew what was coming. No retreat, no mercy, just men who wouldn't break. And that brings me back to the fairy. Scottish DNA is some of the most intact, less diluted genetic heritage in Europe. While much of Europe was mixed and remixed through conquest, empire and migration, the Highlands and Islands remained stubbornly themselves. So here's the thought that won't leave me. Over centuries and centuries, generation after generation, any tribe that didn't want to be ruled, any people who refused to kneel, would be pushed further and further to the edges of lands, to harsher climates, to mountains, to islands, to places harder to farm, harder to live, harder to conquer. And eventually you reach the edge of Europe. You reach Scotland. What if the Highlands became a gathering place, not by design, but by refusal? A place where the most stubborn, independent, defiant bloodlines ended up. not because they were violent, but because they wouldn't be domesticated. And what if that temperament carried forward, not just as aggression, but as ingenuity, as humour, as resilience, as creativity? Because hard land makes hardy people, and hardy people don't just survive, they invent. That might explain why Scotland has produced such a disproportionate number of inventors, why curiosity runs deep, why independence of thought feels natural, why even our music sounds like longing mixed with pride. There's a song that captures this better than anything else for me, Caledonia. The words aren't shouting, they're calling. It's a song about distance and return and knowing where you belong. And when Paolo Nutini sings it with that soulful weight in his voice, it doesn't feel like nostalgia, it feels like memory waking up. And that's how Scotland feels to me now. Not a place I'm romanticising, a place that's calling me home. Listen, Harris changed me. I remember standing in the museum in Stornoway, looking at old photographs of the harbour. Ships docked, families gathered, and the caption said, the community called it a sad day when the ships came in, because they knew another family was leaving and they weren't coming back. That stayed with me, because when you walk Harris today, it's heartbreakingly beautiful. White sand, turquoise water, light that feels almost holy. On a sunny day, it looks like the Caribbean, but it's quiet, still, frozen in time, not dead, just waiting. Waiting for people to come home, waiting for purpose to return. As I got older, I started looking at Scotland with adult eyes. Something else became clear. This is a land with a wound. The Highland clearances weren't just a historical event, they were a tearing. Families pushed off land they belonged to for generations, communities broken apart. And when people were removed from the land suffered too. Scotland has only about 5% of its original Caledonian forest left. 5%. Not because the land can't support forests, but because we removed them. After the Jacobite uprisings, forests were cut down, land reshaped for sheep farming, for hunting estates, for efficiency, not balance. And the damage didn't stop there. Deer populations were allowed to explode because they were valuable for sport. And with no natural predators left, they stripped the land bare. Young trees never stood a chance. Every sapling eaten before it could grow. The forest unable to regenerate itself. That's the part people don't always understand. This wasn't a natural loss, it was a systematic one. And when I learned that, something in me shifted, because suddenly the Scots pine wasn't just a beautiful tree, it was a survivor, a remnant of what once covered this land. And what I love about Trees for Life isn't just the goal, it's the way they go about it. They run these 1 week programs, people come from all over the world, accommodation covered, food covered, and they spend the week out on the land, planting trees, restoring paths, learning how ecosystems actually function. But it's not framed as charity, it's framed as participation. You're not saving the land, you're joining it, and that distinction matters. Because it made me realise something. Healing the land isn't just about trees, it's about people. Working with your hands, feeling useful, slowing your nervous system without trying. And then my mind did what it always does. It expanded the idea. Paths, wooden walkways, tree houses, rope bridges. That Robin Hood Prince of Thieves feeling. Adventure, belonging, purpose. Mornings spent working on yourself, your body, your mind, your direction. Afternoons giving something back with your hands. Not punishment, not obligation. Grounding. Because when you work with the land, something happens. Your thoughts slow down, your sense of usefulness returns. You stop feeling like you're drifting, and that's when it clicked for me. This isn't about volunteering, it's about meaningful work, about creating environments where people don't just consume experiences, they contribute to something bigger than themselves. And from there, belonging forms naturally. People who start by giving time often want to stay, to learn more, to help others. That's the kind of economy that makes sense to me. Not jobs that drain people, but roles that grow them. And once you start to heal land like that, you realise something else. Land doesn't come back to life in silence. It comes back through people, through sound, through gathering. There's another thread in all of this that I haven't spoken about yet, and it's not about land or animals or history. It's about atmosphere. Sound, music, people gathering without needing a reason. When I was younger, my two uncles used to play in a band. They played a lot up in Aviemore, and the stories they told me always stayed with me. This was the 70s and the 80s, before most people went abroad on holiday. Back when places like Aviemore were busy, alive. They told me there were bands on every night, live music, bars full of people. Holidaymakers, locals, workers, all mixed together. It wasn't polished, it wasn't exclusive, it was just alive. I never really experienced that growing up in Glasgow, and I didn't realise what I was missing, not until Australia. I ended up in Darwin for about 7 months, and I actually loved it. One main street, bars everywhere, live music pouring out of doorways every night. Army, Navy, Air Force, tourists passing through, people from all walks of life sharing the same space. You didn't need an invitation, you didn't need a reason, you just turned up and you were part of it. And something clicked in me. This is what community feels like when it's not forced. I felt it again in Byron Bay. Every Sunday, a local pub, live music, afternoon sun, and what stood out wasn't the band, it was the people. Everyone was there, young and old, families and singles, different beliefs, different backgrounds, no hierarchy, no labels, just people. And the feeling was joy, real joy. And I remember thinking, this is what's missing from so many places now. Because Scotland already has the land, it already has the history, it already has the depth. What it lost in places was the living atmosphere, the gathering, the shared nights, the sense that something might happen. And that's when the idea of journeys started forming in my mind. Not destinations, journeys, places people move through, meet others, share stories, hear music, feel welcome. And when I think back to my uncles playing in Aviemore, to Darwin, to Byron Bay on a Sunday, I realised they're all the same story. Places that weren't trying to be anything special, they were just open, and people filled them with life. There's a Scottish Gaelic word I came across that quietly holds everything that I've been trying to name. The word is duhe. It's not easy to translate directly, but it speaks to the idea that people belong to the land and the land belongs to its people. A deep inherited sense of place, a responsibility that runs through generations. When I found that word, it stopped me in my tracks because it described something I already felt, something I'd been circling my whole life without having language for it. And when you add the word clan, it stops being abstract, it becomes human. Family, community, shared belonging. So Clan Duhe isn't about nostalgia, it isn't about recreating the past, it's about a return to old ways in the heart. A culture that valued togetherness, music, gathering, storytelling, joy. A way of living where people felt rooted, supported and connected to the land and to each other. This isn't a business to me, it's a mission. A mission to rebuild belonging, to reconnect people to nature, to create places where families, communities and travellers can feel what I felt as a child. That sense of magic, connection, freedom. A feeling of being held by the land and knowing you belong to it. So the vision, without giving it all away, the connection between people and nature, the idea that Scotland could become a place of renewal again, a place where the land heals and the people heal with it. The North Coast 500 opened my eyes. 13 locations, a circular journey. I won't share every detail of what I want to build, not yet. But the domes were born from a simple question. How do we let people experience Scotland without fighting the weather, the midges, or the limitations of old infrastructure? Not to tame the land, but to live with it. I'm not choosing Scotland, I'm returning to it. Returning to the boy who ran with a wolf. Returning to the land that shaped me. Returning to the place that holds the next chapter of my life. And this time, I'm listening.